Ball control, another fundamental mechanic. Without it, most things become impossible, and that is what we'll be covering in today's video: how to improve ball control. I save this topic for after car control because some basic car control is needed before you really want to work on ball control. At least it will make everything much easier. If you haven't watched my other video on how to improve car control, you should go give it a watch. I'll have a little tag or something up somewhere here for you. Having good ball control is important because with it, you can easily outplay your opponents and give yourself some pretty easy open nets, even though most of you probably miss those anyway. Or, it will also just give you some space on the field. Being able to move the ball around your opponents is very important, especially at higher ranks. Let's go ahead and look at what mechanics we'll be covering today. Dribbling, power slide cuts, shooting, passing, as well as 50s. Ball control, thankfully, is easily worked on in free play, so if you're on console or PC, it doesn't really matter. However, if you are on PC, you do have access to some fun things, like the Dribble Challenge 2, for example. I highly recommend working on this map till you can complete it. I spend at least 10 minutes a day on this. This will help you improve your ball control, and with the ability to dribble the ball well, you will unlock so much potential for yourself and potential for mechanics down the line. The sooner you start this, the better, so go and download it right now. Go and do it. A pretty basic but fun and kind of challenging thing that I like to do is dribbling with no boost. It's pretty straightforward. Dribbling the ball with no boost is an underlooked way to improve your ball control. This helps you slow down and see where the ball needs to be. This will also help you with matching the speed of the ball. This is very important when dribbling. I like to toss in power slides, wave dashes, pops, and other things just to make this a little bit more challenging for myself. If you are not constantly pushing yourself, it will take you longer to improve, so I like to challenge myself. Anyway, I recommend you do this every day, even if it's just for 10 minutes or so. Let's go ahead and take a peek at bounce dribbles and power slide cuts. This, thankfully, also is going to be done in free play. Power slide cuts were brought to my attention by Flakes, his series, his Road to SSL Without Mechanics. Go and watch that if you haven't already. It's kind of awe-inspiring. Bounce dribbles are just an advanced way to dribble the ball by creating a pop, and this opens up a ton of shooting possibilities, so these are really important as well. Let's start with power slide cuts though. The way I work on this is roll the ball in one direction. Any direction, doesn't really matter. And follow the ball in that direction and then turn away from a bit, and then power slide back in front of the ball in the direction of the momentum. If done right, it will look something like this, and the ball will pop into the air and change its direction pretty quickly. And if done at the right time, you can send your opponent flying past you. I like to go around the field and just practice this for a few minutes a day. Don't worry if you can't get it right away, just work on it, it'll get better with time. Once you get better at this, you can start chaining these into one another. That way it gets harder and harder to read. That's kind of where bounce dribbling comes in. That's a more advanced form, I guess. Let's cover bounce dribbling. It's kind of like the power slide cut, however, you can just keep on bouncing it. You can use power slide cut to start one of these, and you can power slide cut in the middle of these for more variation on your shots, or to fake your opponents out. Just watch how I hit the ball here and keep the bounce going. It's also important to note that if you hit the ball too high or too far away from you, it'll create an opening and your opponent will probably challenge you. To get a good bounce dribble, try to hit the ball just after it bounces off the ground. Make sure to practice this from the left and to the right, and then from the left to the right to the right to the left, back and forth. Just make sure you're practicing every angle you can of this. We're going to be moving on to shooting and passing now. This seems basic, and it is, but the basics are needed. Shooting, in the sense that I'm going to explain, is also what passing is, just getting the ball to go where you want it to. There are some good ways to work on this. Personally, I use this map. It's Aim Training by Coco. You can find this in the Steam Workshop. But if you don't have access to that, there are tons and tons of training packs with shooting consistency. This is the one that I personally use. When learning to shoot, I recommend learning without air roll at first. Then once you are pretty good at taking your shots without air roll, start learning how to add air roll in. When shooting, it's important to know what type of shot you're going to be making. There are 3 basic types of shots. Just a straight shot, a shot up in the air, and then a shot downward. Remember to practice all types of shots so you stay consistent. Make sure you're flipping through the center mass of the ball for the most accuracy and power. If you hit the ball on one side or off of center, it loses so much power and it also loses its accuracy. Best practices for this is to use the front corner of your car for the most power. If you'd like to get a high pop on the ball, try and hit the ball from more of the bottom. And then for shooting down, just going to be the opposite, try and hit it more from the top. There are tons of training packs out there. I recommend just go and find one that challenges you. I think that pretty much covers shooting. If anyone has any questions, drop them in the comments below. we're gonna go ahead and move on over to 50-50s. 50s are gonna be one of the last things we'll cover today, and then the last one after this is just gonna be air dribbles. It's good to be able to control where the ball is gonna be going after a 50, or at least predict it. This is a great skill to pick up early on, especially when people are willing just to throw themselves at you, which is the case in the early ranks. Getting a good 50 can leave you with an open field with no pressure, or leave your team with a really easy open net. There are a few important things to know about 50s, and what decides who wins the 50. Firstly, the person that is centermost of the ball will often win the 50. However, if both cars are centermost, the car that hits the ball last will force the ball in that direction, unless the other car has more momentum. So, kind of speed wins in the end, unless you absolutely nail the first 2 points, which is being centermost and then hitting the ball second. A few other factors that can help with this is flipping last and flipping in the direction you want the ball to go. And to make sure you're flipping in the direction of least resistance. And what I mean by this is the ball will be forced out between the two cars in a direction that is the most open. If you are also flipping in that direction, you increase the odds of being the last person to hit the ball. I won't go into detail with this anymore, and I'll save that for another video in the series that's just on 50s, because there's so much to cover and there's just so many factors when it comes into 50s. Anyway, you're gonna have to practice this in games. I recommend going into 1v1s because you'll get the most 50s there. And last, we have air dribbles. This truly is a perfect mesh between car control and ball control, and I saved it for last because of that. Next video will be covering this mesh in more detail, basically how to use your ball control and car control together in harmony to do things such as air dribbles. But I did want to cover this briefly, as it is also ball control. Air dribbles can be set up from any place in the map. And if you have enough boost and enough control, you can also score from any place on the map. There are training packs out there for this all over. However, I'm gonna tell you right now not to use them. I don't think they're good to use, or don't use them a lot. Often these packs have the air dribble setup already done for you, and this is easily one of the most important parts to any mechanic. The setup. Most people overlook this and just try and get to the mechanic itself, but without a good setup, executing the mechanic will be even more difficult. So just go into free play and practice controlling the ball to the wall. This is the first step. Follow the speed of the ball up the wall and practice without boost, because if you hit the ball and you boost too hard, you'll probably hit it away from yourself. So you just want to tap the ball off the wall and jump off with it, holding down your jump as long as you can. And a good point to pop the ball off the wall is going to be right here. It's right after this little logo area. Once the ball starts to go off the wall and into the air, holding your jump button, again, rather than boosting into the ball, can set you up for a much better dribble. This is because if you boost into the ball, you have a lot of forward momentum, and the ball will bounce right off of that, and it'll be harder to catch the ball. Practice the setup until you get it down consistently. Once you have the setup down and can get under the ball, try feathering your boost while under it to keep it up. Don't worry about getting it into the net. You just want to get comfortable with dribbling it. You also want to focus on where the sweet spot on the ball is to keep it up while you're dribbling. Depending on your camera settings, this will look a little bit different, but this is what it is for me. And then finally, after you get that down, it's time to start learning how to control the ball towards the net. You're going to have to use some air rolls here and there and tilt your car around to get more efficient direction changes in the air. After a while, you'll start to get it down. But that's going to be it for air dribbles. I'll cover it again in another video, but yeah, hope this video at least helped some of you out even a little bit, or maybe just had fun watching it. Anyway, I'm excited to be starting the series up again, and I hope you guys are as well. If you have anything you want to learn, leave it down in the comments and I'll get it out. Anyway, see you in the next video. Peace.